Hello, my friends. Today we're talking about the knowledge gap and why you quite probably losing clients or not getting clients because your message is too complicated to them and they can't clearly understand what are you talking about. So they think that you are a super knowledgeable person, but quite probably they can't hire you because they have no clue what are you doing. So today we're going to close this gap and I hope it will help you a lot because in video marketing, clarity of the message is super important. My name is Voyevoda and I'm your business and brand creator, and I help women entrepreneurs to brand their brilliance so that they can build the business of their dreams. And if you want to build the business of your dream, let me know. So when we talk about the knowledge gap, it's really simple concept. The concept lays in the scale. Like you imagine the scale from 1 to 10, and your knowledge as an expert, it lays between somewhere 6 to 10. I really hope you know your subject very, very well. So you quite probably understand enough to communicate on the level between 6 to 10. However, your client's knowledge on this particular subject is between 1 to 3, somewhere around that. So maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but we have a gap between 3 to 6, which is not covered with anything. So when you communicate, even on the lowest level of your expertise, which is 6, your clients trying to get it from the level of 3 or even 2, they have no clue what are you talking about. So I'll give you several examples to make it a little bit more clear for you, because I think you also were in such situation many times and you will remember it once I'll share with you the example. So one of the examples, I had a wonderful conversation with a audio engineer and she's brilliant, and I absolutely understand that she knows her subject extremely well. But when she gave me a wonderful advice about some frequencies and stuff like this, how to reduce the noises in audio files, I was like, I absolutely clearly get every single word in that comment, but I have no clue what are you talking about. And the problem is that I'm not that much illiterate in this particular subject. I kind of knew it a little bit to understand where she's leading me forward, and I can understand what I have to learn. But at the moment when when I read this comment, I had no clue what she's talking about. And my thought exactly is, oh, that is extremely knowledgeable person, but I have no clue what I have to do with this advice. Now I will give you another example, and that's about my friend who is in printing. So when he explains me certain things about printing and I bring in him something to print, he's often trying to explain how to make things better during the printing and what method he's going to use. And I'm like, please, can you please just do it like good, and I will not know the details, because I can't understand a single word about that, what he explains about the printing specialties and stuff like this, some spectrums and all this kind of stuff. So I learned that things as well. So my knowledge is quite probably on the level of 4 or 5 in this particular subject, but his knowledge is probably above 10. So when he explains things which I don't know, I, as a client, I don't want to know about that. What I want to get results, and I pay for that, and I'm happy with the printing as a result. And I know as an expert, he would like to share with me the depths of his knowledge because he's proud of that knowledge. But as a client, I don't feel capable to get more information in my brain. And that's completely fine when we do not sell the info products or coaching. But when we sell info products or coaching, the knowledge gap becomes crucial. The reason for that is super simple. Like when you can't explain what exactly do you sell, how exactly do you help the people, they don't know how you can help them. And the problem is in human brains. The human brains are actually consist of 3 parts, and you know about that. You quite probably heard about that a lot. And the deepest, the ancient part is reptile brain, which is actually protecting you from overwhelming, from any kind of danger. So that is the first part of the brain which is reacting on things and always protecting you, withdrawing the activity. So reptile part of the brain reacting on certain things like any negative reaction or energy overconsumption or anything like that, and trying to protect your body and you in general. The next part of the brain is emotional, and the last part is logical. All of them are results of evolution, and when we talk from the perspective of really deep knowledge, we're trying to communicate to the logical brain, but what we forget about that there is a reptile brain which will protect us from overload. And another situation is that your brain consumes a lot of energy. It's like the only part of the body which really needs a lot of energy. You quite probably notice that when you talk a lot, when you do a lot of mental activity, you really need to eat a lot. The reason for, and you need to eat sugary, sweety food, because that is a fuel for your brain. So that's the reason why reptile brain is trying to protect your body from the over energy consumption, because if you hear some message which is not very clear, which is too smart for you to understand, which is required from you to Google it, go and find out more about it or something like that, your reptile brain say, come on, we have just this much energy and we're not going to spend anything more. So that's too smart. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. That's what's happening with majority of the clients, and that happen on a subconscious level. So it doesn't happen like literally your brain come into your mind and say, okay, that's overconsumption, we are not going to listen to this person. That would be fine, by the way, but it doesn't happen like that. So when we talk about the knowledge gap, we really need to deliver our message in such a simple way that people can understand it, people can consume it, and people can use it. Because if by the end of the video they will not be able to practically do something about their life, about their situation, that will be really horrible. So let's come to the practical part because of that. So the first part, how you can improve your message and make it less crazy, less smart, but more acceptable for your clients to close this gap, you actually need to look on the terminology. So when we talk using a lot of terms, specifically for experts, it's like a most horrible thing. Like when I did communicate with people in advertising agencies, and I spent over 17 years in agencies, it was like super horrible society where people communicate in a completely different language. They use so much of terminology. When they communicate to their clients, clients feel like, what this person just said? And they say, okay, you just pay for that, don't worry. And that method, by the way, they used to get more money. The bigger agency used to take more money from people because they couldn't get what they're talking about, but they could feel the importance of that very complex terminology. It doesn't work, by the way, nowadays, but it did work a long time ago. So the situation that you have to remove the terminology as much as you can. And there is a saying that if you can't explain your message to a 5-year-old person, that means that your message is not good enough. It's like you don't know your subject enough, because you really need to understand how to explain it to a person who is not an expert at all. So I'm sometimes experimenting, explaining certain things to my mom, not very successfully, by the way, but anyways, that usually helps you to understand how complex your message is. So first of all, you remove the terminology. And once you remove the terminology, you basically replace these words with some common normal language. So you understand how the process is happening in your expertise, how the things are working in a simple, normal human language. So that's the method number one. This is super important because terminology kills the message. Like, it's the first thing which kills the message, because people don't like terminology which they can't understand. So the second method which you can use, and this is super practical again, You really need to talk to people who are your potential customers and figure out how much they understand the subject, because we may communicate to a very wide audience. And like, for example, I did communicate a lot for the beginners in the business and help a lot with my expertise. But the problem was that they couldn't understand many things, so they couldn't get maximum results from that what I gave them. Because if they would be 3 to 5 years in business, and right now I'm back to working with people who actually want to grow their business rather than start business. So when we talk to people who actually want to grow the business, they know a lot more about business, so the communication happened on a completely different level. So both of these people, the beginners and people who want to grow the business, would have an online business. So if I would say that I talk to people who are women entrepreneurs who have online business, I would talk about people who are 1 year in business and people who 5 years in business. However, you really need to have this clarity to who are you talking. Are you talking to people who have this much of knowledge, or people who know your subject on, say, level 4 or 5? That's up to you to figure out who is your ideal client and understand how much they know the subject, so that you can communicate with them in a very specific way. So I know and I analyze that difference between the beginners entrepreneurs and experienced entrepreneurs, how much they understand, what kind of language do they use, and what kind of motivations do they need to move forward, to move in that knowledge on a deep level. So you can do exactly the same. So the point number 1 is remove terminology. The point number 2, find out what your clients understand and on which level you want to pick their clients, and in which level of knowledge you want to communicate with the people. Because the lesser the knowledge gap, the better, the easier communicate and build the message which is really relevant to your products. So another thing which you can do, and that's the point number 3, you really need to clarify and make your message simple and short. So when we create a super long videos, a super long post, a super long webinars, and super long everything, the problem is we're dealing with the same overwhelm which I was talking before. So when people see too much of words, too longish video, they are tired and they're not able to get enough of information, even if it is simple and slightly complex for them. So when the brain tired and more tired, and with 20 minutes of video it's like super tired, and you're giving them more and more and more, and you think, hey, I gave you so much valuable information, yoo-hoo, and people like, what's going on? We are like, have no clue what are you talking about, and we like have to eat a piece of chocolate now because our brain is basically doesn't work. So you really need to look at that very carefully from the perspective of your clients, and understand that you're not supposed to overwhelm them. You're not supposed to make them feel like they have to eat 1 kg of chocolates after every video which you create, and really make your video more light and fun. And I know that probably this video is not fun enough, so I am going to improve it even more. So let's wrap up, and I'll back to the 3 points which you can do to cover the knowledge gap and to make your message in video way more clear. And yeah, one more small thing. When you do video, people can't read the text. So obviously add the subtitles. Obviously add the description. And in the description, you need to explain exactly what are you going to talk about. So people can see the terms if you use them, because it's really important to people to see the terms and read the terms, because in video marketing, people can hear and see you, and if they couldn't get the term, they quite probably will not ask you in the comments. They will just skip it, and your video will have no value for them. So just try to add the complex information in subtitles and in the descriptions that will help people to figure out. So let's wrap up and see what kind of recommendation you can use to improve your message. So the idea number 1, remove the complex terminology and try to explain everything in a human language. Section 2, understand who are your clients and on which level of knowledge you actually share your message. So people can be really new people or they have certain level of expertise. You really need to figure out who is your ideal client. As a point number 3, you need to clarify your message as much as it's possible to not overwhelm people, make it clear and short. So this will help people to understand you better. And at the 4th point, I can add that you really need to add into the description the complex terminology and explanation which you will have in your videos, and add the subtitles if you can. So that's my message for you for today. I hope you will be able to understand and improve the idea of how to cover the knowledge gap when you create the message for your clients. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.